Hey guys, today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the difference between the paramedic to RN bridge and the traditional ADN bridge. So buckle up, get ready. Welcome to my podcast. Your bridge option is going to be or your nursing option is going to be based on your current level of education. So today, I want to talk about the advantage and the disadvantages of the paramedic to RN bridge, which is a ADN option versus the traditional ADN option. So ADN stands for Associate Degree Nursing. So your basic paramedic to RN bridges, most of those are associate degree options, unless it specifically say paramedic to BSN. So what is the associate's degree? So the associate's degree is the minimum level of education that allow you to sit for the NCLEX, which is the licensing exam. Keep in mind, RN is not a degree. RN is just your license. It's almost the same as being called a paramedic or EMT. Paramedic or EMT is not a degree, it's a certification. So it's the same way. Most ADN programs are typically going to be 2 years long or 2.5 years long. Your 2-year programs are typically 4 semesters, and your 2.5-year programs are typically 5 semesters. And usually that involves some prereq courses. For example, anatomy and physiology, you need 2 psych classes, 2 English classes, and typically a humanities class. Some require you to have math, college level math. Some require you to have chemistry as well. So whatever program, ADN program you're looking at, the best thing to do is kind of go on that college website, but they're pretty universally standard. But so keep in mind, if you add in your prereqs in along with the nursing program, you could be looking at real easy 3.5 to 4 years to finish an ADN program. Now, also some require certification as a CNA. And I'm not going to lie to you. When I first looked at the traditional ADN program, I thought like, hey, why in the world am I going to take a CNA course? I'm a paramedic. I know how to take a blood pressure. But keep in mind that CNA is the foundation for nursing. Paramedic is a foundation for medical. 2 totally different things. So just to kind of sum it up a little bit, your first year is pretty much your foundational skills, where you're kind of learning things like medical administration, Foley's, assessments, medical math. And your second year typically is your specialty courses like leadership, OB, critical care, emergency, med surge. And that's kind of how the ADN program, very basically nursing school, is broken down. Now, if you want to flip to the other side and let's look at the paramedic to RN bridge, typically what it does, it takes your previous medical experience into consideration, but you still need some type of prereqs. The program I went through required an associate's degree in EMS, and that associate's degree in EMS is what contained all of my prereqs. Typically in a paramedic to RN bridge, your first year is going to be an accelerated, which is going to bring you advanced placement into your second year. So the way my program was set up, our first semester was a bridge course, and that bridge course was it was called the paramedic to RN bridge. And that bridge was pretty much the entire first year mixed into one semester. And then you go into your second year. I think the drawbacks to that for me was it was so fast paced that, our instructors told us stuff that we don't go over is still going to be testable in NCLEX. And I think that was one of the drawbacks was your foundation, your good nursing foundation. So both are competitive and both do require an entrance exam like HESI and TEAS. So what is the advantages of a bridge versus the traditional program. I think the advantages of the bridge is that it's shorter. It shortened the length of the program. For example, some paramedic to RN programs are a year long. Then you test the NCLEX for your RN, and some is maybe one semester shorter in length. I know mine was just one semester shorter in length. Also, the advantages is it's less expensive because you have less classes. Uh, You can get your RN faster if you're trying to get out into the workplace, and there's no CNA requirement, so there's no additional courses that you have to take. Now, what are the disadvantages of the paramedic to RN bridge? Well, one, you might miss out on foundational knowledge, and that can really hurt you taking the NCLEX. Because keep in mind that the NCLEX is a nursing license exam, it's not a medical license exam. Also, there are not many bridges. I know when I first started looking, that was a one online bridge that everyone talked about going to, but it was taking people 3 years to finish. It was too expensive. They had to pay for this one big clinical thing that most people was filling out and had to come back. It was not really a good look. Then there was one that was brick and mortar that was about an hour away from my home. So, within a course of I think maybe a couple of years, it wound up being three. And keep in mind, the one that I went to was an hour and a half away drive from my house. Also, the hospital that I did my clinicals was an hour and a half away as well. And also another one disadvantage is you graduate with the ADN, and depending on your area for jobs, some areas may rather hire a BSN for the hospital versus an ADN graduate. I know in my area, I'm lucky because we have about where I live, there's about three level one facilities, all within a 45 uh, minute drive from each other. And all of them are pretty competitive when it comes to nurses. So you should have to sign a contract stating within 5 years, you would have your BSN. But they're all magnet hospitals and they will take you with the ADN. So here's my suggestions. My suggestions is, well, let me kind of get back a little bit because I'm going a little too far. So I would suggest a paramedic to RN bridge for someone who you can't afford to take a 4-year university program for your BSN, either because of your work schedule or either because of the finances. Also, I would suggest it for someone who has no prior degree. For example, if you don't have a bachelor's or if you don't have a master's or even if you don't have an associate, then I would suggest to go this route. Also, for someone who can't afford to be out of work for long periods of time. Through my program, we had paramedics that worked full time the whole time through. Could I have done it? If I had to, of course I could have done it. But it was more geared towards your work schedule than trying to work and go through a 4-year university. Also, if you need to get out fast into the workforce, for me, I'm newly married, and I needed to go from paramedic to RN quickly. As a paramedic, I wasn't making much. I think the most I made as a paramedic during that time was maybe $18 to $20 an hour, versus as a new grad RN, I was already in my 30s. So there's a big difference in pay. So I needed to do something quick and get out into the workforce. So here's some tips from my experience. I would say, number one, the clear winner of this to me is if you have no education, would be a paramedic to RN bridge. That's definitely, I think, the faster route, and it'll pump you into the workforce a lot quicker. So here's my tips. One, I would say start saving money now and start looking to apply for grants or you can also do a student loan. I wouldn't suggest a student loan. That's why I say start saving money now. Also, start your prereqs. go ahead and start getting your Englishes out the way, your psychs out the way now, even before you start looking. Because believe it or not, you'll be surprised when you start looking how fast things roll around. There's a selection process for both. So I would say apply to both programs, the paramedic to RN bridge, and also that college is traditional. Because if you miss one, you can come around for the other. For example, in the traditional program, we had paramedics in the traditional program because they didn't get accepted into the paramedic to RN bridge. So the next roll around, they got into the traditional. And I think it's easier because I think you get more points for being a paramedic. So the competitive nature on that end is a little easier. I would say focus on your prereqs, all A's, and also take a study course for your entrance exam, your nursing entrance exam. Usually it's going to be either the HESI or the T's, or some people do the NACE. I studied for 9 months and I posted a good score because I didn't rush. Take your time, repeat classes, and I looked at it good. They really looked at negatively. So take your time on your prereq classes. And also go meet the faculty. I can't say this enough. Go visit the school, go meet the people, let them know you. FaceTime will go a long way. And especially if they can attach a face to a name, go see the facilities. Let them give you a tour. I think that'll give you a good. Also, because this is a place that you're going to spend money and you're going to trust them to educate you to pass the NCLEX, and you want to make sure you're making the right choice. Also, take your prereqs at the community college you want to attend. I think that's a big one because number one, half the battle is done. You're already registered. So you don't have to worry about if you get accepted trying to get through registration, because I can promise you, I've just finished my 3rd degree. I'm now on my 4th. I'm going to be starting my master's. And I can tell you, trying to transfer to schools, things always go haywire. It's never a smooth process. At least you're already registered. Also, colleges tend to take care of their own. So I think you have a better chance of getting into the program if you're already a student versus if you transfer in just to try to get into the nursing program. Also, some of the entrance, when you go to take the entrance exam, a lot of times they preserve those seats for students who are already there versus an outsider. So if you're already a student at that community college, it's easier for you to sit for your your nursing or pre-entrance exam. So as I stated, the clear winner between the traditional ADN bridge and the paramedic RN bridge to me is the paramedic to RN bridge. But keep in mind, if you don't get into that bridge, just come around the next semester and get into the traditional program. That way, you still be on track. So thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you next episode. As always, hey, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at paramedic2rninfo. Remember the number 2.